Nasser's paper is called Crimes Against Humanity or Inconsequential Killings. Thank you. 10 minutes. Or I may just give you a little bit more time because other people have had a couple of more minutes, but not much more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Roy, and I thank the Association for arranging this meeting for us all, and I thank also the other groups that are here. Well, thank you very much. As you said, actually, I think I was thinking more about the titling my presentation to the secret genocide. But as you know, the genocide has a very big kind of consequence, and it is something is even the killing of the Jews by Hitler was not considered a genocide at the time. It was based on the people that were convicted mostly. It was because of the crime against humanity. All the crimes against humanity. I cannot say anything about that one here. But we have this team panelists who would maybe describe what does it mean, but at least it's something that even it doesn't have any convention, but it's what's used internationally. But what I see, my experience here is about the Baluch situation, where murdering Baluch is inconsequential. It's because there is no reaction from international community, as Simeon mentioned. It's not mentioned much in the Iranian media as it should be. Just this, since the Gaza war, anything that happens in the world, any kind of change in Iran, year changing, even the European year changing, international year changing, or presidential change, you can see an increase of execution in Iran, but also in Balochistan. And as I have seen it during this time that I've been active, even I have been politically active, but I have been working mostly in human rights, given that what's happening in Balochistan has been mostly to the United Nations, and I've been talking there, and I have been sitting in the panel with Ahmad Shahid and now with Javid Rahman here too, and talking about Baluch situation. And even I have said that in the United Nations, I'm sorry to say that one, I said that a fact-finding mission to Iran too, that I feel there is a social chauvinism when it's come to Baluch. It's from part of the international community, and as I quoted here too from the Kissinger at the time when he was not foreign minister, but he was esteemed kind of respected within the government in the U.S. and at the time of the President Kennedy. When he came to Balochistan, it is the same thing, Balochistan in Pakistan or Balochistan in Iran, if you say it. And when they asked him about Balochistan, what do you think, what's happening in Balochistan? He said, I would not even react if it slapped my face. And that's what the international community has been since then and before when it's come to Balochistan situation. And I'm of an opinion that what's happening in Balochistan is a kind of government policy. It was not defined by this government, Islamic Republic of Iran. It was defined during the Pahlavi government, and even we can see it during the Qajar government. Mass killing of Balochistan has been part of the kind of armed attacks on Balochistan from the Qajar time, and it is continuing. And you can see it even sometimes in literature in Iran. That's somehow acceptable to kill. And that's something that we have to deal with, because otherwise this will continue. We know there are forces in Iran always using, as we always talk about, territorial integrity of Iran, and this used to kill people. This is not used to make people that you come together. We should be one people. It's used to kill people. And when we hear Iran territorial integrity, it means that there is a bullet coming towards me. I would be excused for anything. Just say that why I'm being killed, they say, well, you are the separatist. If I say why my language is not respected, they say, well, then you are most likely separatist, you should be killed. And that's what being used. And that's when we hear this word is a killing. It's a human rights situation here, so we have to emphasize on that one. When it comes to Balochistan, when there's Howeida, that's why I'm saying it's not something new. That's historical, and it's going on, and that's why we are very much careful to see the next government is not going to continue with same policies that Pahlavi had and this regime has. So that's one of our reasons that we, when we talk to the people, we want a kind of a positive coalition, not a negative coalition based on only saying that we overthrow the dictatorship. Okay, we overthrow the dictatorship, what will happen? Then come Raza Pahlavi, and then come Khomeini. So we do not want the next time to be the same thing. We don't mind the name. We would be Reza Pahlavi or something else, but should be democratic, and it should not be something that is killing people. I'm not saying that this Reza Pahlavi or that Reza Pahlavi. I'm not talking about persons, but for us it's very important, because at the time, for instance, when they asked Huwaida, why you not develop this region, he said, why we should do that? It is, if these people happen to live in a geopolitical situation, important region, why they should get benefit from that? They should be moved from here. And that was the long-time prime minister in Iran for about almost 2 decades. And Khalat Bari, which is the Pahlavi, always talk about Abbas Khalat Bari as their, I don't know, things like the Jawad Zarif. He was foreign minister in Iran. And when he was asked about the Baloch, he said, well, we always think the Baloch will try to gain their independence one day. So it's, obviously, we have to keep them backward, weak, disunited politically. And that has been the policy of the Pahlavi, that Balochistan should be backward. And when you see that Baloch doesn't have a school, there is no road, and we are somehow not represented in media, we are not represented in bureaucracy in Iran. It has been planned from the before. It's not something that has happened in a vacuum. We don't like to work. No, we are trying. If you go to the same Baloch family, part of the Baloch family that had moved to the Gulf region because of the separation again, they are ministers. They are the head of the army. They are diplomats. But in Iran, as you said, Simon mentioned, there is, for instance, only one Baloch, Khatam Narwi, have been Balochistan governor, and he was from Kerman region of Balochistan. And one thing I have to say here, when it's come to suppressing Baloch, there has been some possibility for the Shias, but the part of the Balochistan where the Shias lives is currently in Muslim Kerman, and to some extent Balochistan. And here Mr. Eid Mohammed was mentioned. Eid Mohammed was not a big smuggler. He was just kind of a person who fought against the regime. Maybe he was involved, but he was not big smuggler. And he was a child when his father was killed in front of him by the regime. So that's why he went to the mountain and fought against the regime. He killed some revolutionary guard. He killed some security forces. I'm not saying that he did a good thing, but you can imagine a young man when he's in about 10, 12 years, and you can kill his father, all the family, and then what's left for him. So you have to understand the situation in Balochistan when people like Malik Rigi come and people like Eid Mohammed come, and then of course there is misunderstanding about them too. We are against all kind of use of force by the Baloch or by the governments. But I think here you have to understand that the killing that's happening in Balochistan, it has consequences sometimes in the form of those, but at least as we can see now, the Baloch struggle always have been civil resistance. It's never have been armed, and this note showing particularly in Makki Mosque, as I was saying, the Maulavi Abdul Hamid is leading that one. And we are proud to say that we as the Balochistan People's Party had worked on that one to make sure that Balochistan becomes secular. When Maulavi Abdul Hamid has said about Taliban or supporting Raisi, we have been critical on those. We have been the group that only political group in Balochistan that have said that's strong. And Maulavi Abdul Hamid being a wise man, a man who knows something. When he have heard these things, he never have blamed us to be wrong. He have accepted this kind of thing. So he's a kind of leader that listens to the people, and that's what's important. For me is to say that one here, that to emphasize that one, what I see in Balochistan is a crime against humanity, and according to the articles of the Rome Statutes, and I think it's very important for the international community to recognize that one, and I think it's very important for us to be recognized, because this much killing in Balochistan that's happening, when you see that each year we see and this has been reported by Amnesty International too, that in 1991, for instance, and you can see these things that, for instance, in 2010 there was demonstration, 2009, actually demonstration then started also in Balochistan. Many people forget that one, that demonstration before even the presidential election happened in that region. And the regime, even we have the reports, the regime at that time blamed our party and other parties for instigating those things, and they said that we have got money from the French government. I've gone and met the French, I don't know, spy service, but I never knew any French spy service. At least I've heard the CIA leader or the Mossad's leader, but never heard anything about the French intelligence service. But they said we have met him, we have got money to instigate those demonstrations in Zahedan. Actually, demonstration happened first in Zahedan and then after the election in other parts of Iran. But Balochistan, of course, was not involved in the saying that Mousavi should come or Ahmadinejad. But then again, when the demonstration started in Balochistan, they arrested 150. In Tehran, they arrested more. But the regime did not execute many in Tehran at that time. They executed 19 people in one day in Balochistan. And there was a bomb explosion in Zahedan. They arrested, they didn't arrest anyone. But on the 19th April and on 31st April, they killed 3 people, hanged them in the street in Zahedan. And then they said they have been planning and they did this explosion. But they were, at the time, were in prison. Simply because they were Baloch, they were executed and they were blamed for this explosion. But these things never have mentioned in any cases that how regime is doing these things. Why is finding this kind of situation where you just go and find somebody in the prison and kill? And that's what we have to mention, I think, in those reports. And I think I remember once I was with Mr. Javed Rahman, we had a session, and I mentioned the problem sometimes is that, for instance, this reports that's written by the United Nations or other institution or Amnesty International, even once in a Siemens program in Cheshmandas, I had a clash. Sima, yes, sorry, with Siemens, with Amnesty International, and then I mentioned Amnesty International has been silent for decades about Balochistan. And after that one that I criticized Amnesty International, they came and wrote something, but it was the same report that 10 years ago they had done it. They only changed some word. They didn't even give it 10 minutes to change to do a new job. The same that the former kind of person that are working on in Amnesty International, because I have all those reports in my computer and I printed them out too. So I know when it's come, I remember this is the same report. The same report, it's nothing changed. It shows that they do not give in time to Baloch. And that's the problem. And we see those reports that are published by the special rapporteurs and by other groups. We see that there is, as I said here, 75% of the execution and arrests are happening in Kurdistan and Balochistan. But then in those reports, 90% or sometimes 95% is about Tehran or people that with privilege. Not the people like the Balochistan. They only mention maybe in one paragraph. Actually, this time I have to thank Mr. Javed Rahman. The last one, he gave more space to the national minorities and the Baloch. But previously, that has been maybe mentioned in one paragraph, not more than that. But sometimes just say that many of those that have been executed as ethnic minorities. But that's not enough. And then regime sees that it's inconsequential. There is no consequence for it to kill Baloch. And that's why whenever he feels to show that it's strong, it's effective, and they use that we are effective. And then they go and find some Baloch and kill them. And besides that, there is extrajudicial killings in Balochistan. Every week there are 2, 3, 4, 5 people are killed. Sometimes one day 3, 4, 5 people are killed. And I was, thank you very much. And when I wanted to make sure that when we say about Sistan, Balochistan, it is what's happening in Balochistan. It's not only in Sistan, Balochistan. It's a part of the Hormozgan region. The same thing is happening. Part of the Balochistan, which is in Kerman, the same thing is happening. Even I can say it's worse. Baloch who are living in those provinces will not only suffer from the countrywide separation, but they even suffer from a provincial separation too. People Baloch living in Kerman are in worse situation than Baloch in Balochistan, and the same thing for the Baloch in Hormozgan. So we have to think about that one. When we talk about Balochistan, it's not only Sistan and Balochistan. There are the Baloch people, they are also suffering at the same level. The regime does not discriminate us because we live in different provinces. Even it's oppress us more on those provinces. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very valuable contribution. We hear you. The reason that we are organizing the second conference on Balochistan is because we hear you and we want to be able to carry the voice forward. which will then bring us to why we have the two esteemed gentlemen on either side of me.